Welcome to Nactv Reads the News. My name is Jeremy Vogt. Nactv can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 117, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your Nactv experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today I'll be reading the Neepawa banner and press for Friday, April 29th, 2022. And on the front page, sports support abounds in Neepawa between Titans and Tigers. Each year, the Neepawa Titans donate a portion of their annual sports dinner proceeds to a community organization. Pictured above, the Neepawa Titans head coach and general manager Ken Pearson, left, presented Neepawa Area Collegiate Institute Tigers football head coach Chidi Small with a check for $750. The Tigers players and staff assisted at the sports dinner, enjoyed a great meal, and had an opportunity to get their picture taken with Winnipeg Blue Bombers player Shane Gauthier and the Grey Cup. Tax increase, part of Neepawa's new budget. A 1.57% increase expected on municipal tax levy. How can you tell that we might be starting to return to a pre-COVID version of normal? Because our taxes are going up. For the first time since 2019, property owners in Neepawa will see an increase to their municipal tax levy, as it will rise by 1.57%. From a financial standpoint, that percentage change means that the average property owner will pay an additional $45.90 in taxes per $300,000 of their assessed property value. The town of Neepawa unveiled the tax impact, as well as other details to its 2022 financial plan during a public meeting on Tuesday, April 19th. It was confirmed at the session that the mill rate for the year has been set at 22.06, an increase of 0.34 mil compared to 2021. The mill rate is a figure representing the amount per $1,000 of the assessed value of the property, which is used to calculate the amount of property tax. Last year, there was no increase in taxes for residential and commercial property owners, while in 2020 there was a decrease of 0.66 mils, or just under 3%. That equaled out to property owners paying 76 cents less in taxes per $200,000 of their assessed property value. And this is continued on page A9. The town of Neepawa is enacting a boil water advisory in May, but don't worry, it's nothing you need to be overly concerned about. On Tuesday, April 19th, Manager of Operations Denise Sakay told Council that a boil advisory would need to be put in place next month while a new stage of work on the water treatment plant reservoir project begins. The work being done would double the amount of treated water available on hand in Neepawa's system in the future. Sakay stressed that this simply is a precautionary move. For a period of time during the work, the water pressure for the town will drop below 20 psi, pounds per square inch. Under provincial laws, an advisory must be declared at that point, regardless of the reason for the pressure drop. While a drop in pressure like that does have the potential of introducing a foreign body into the system, stringent testing is done to watch for those issues. A boil water advisory is different from a more serious boil water order, as an advisory is a precautionary measure to alert customers of the potential for compromised water quality. It is recommended that customers boil all water used in food and beverage consumption for 2 minutes. A boil order, meanwhile, is a confirmation that contamination is present in the water system. It is essential that customers boil all water used for food and beverage for 2 minutes. The final dates and times for the boil water advisory are yet to be determined, but the town will be sharing that information well in advance to ensure people are aware. The advisory would likely be in place for about 3 days. Nesbitt Publishing purchases Minnedosa Tribune. Shoal Lake-based business to continue publishing 139-year-old newspaper. A big change is coming to the area's newspaper industry. Last week, owner Daryl Hollick announced via letter that the Minnedosa Tribune office would be closing its doors. This closure brings the end of operating and publishing from the office at 14 3rd Avenue Southwest, as it has done since March of 1883. This alone will mark one of the biggest changes the business has undergone in its rich 139-year history, Hollick said in his letter. A decrease in foot traffic, emphasized by the COVID-19 pandemic, was cited as a reason for the closure. In addition to this factor were the increase in operational expenses and decrease in revenue, putting the Minnedosa Tribune in a financial position which is no longer feasible. Although the office will be closed, the Minnedosa Tribune will not be gone. Arrangements have been made and the business sold to Ryan Nesbitt, owner of Nesbitt Publishing Limited, Crossroads This Week, and the South Mountain Press. With this sale, this is the Minnedosa paper's 10th owner and publisher. In an interview on Tuesday, April 26, Nesbitt told the Banner and Press that he feels the purchase of the Tribune complements his existing publications well. He noted that both areas have something in common with Minnedosa, which will aid them with shared rapport, news, and existing travel paths for staff and otherwise. Then, of course, there's the town itself. It's a real vibrant community with a lot going on, said Nesbitt. It seems like a town that has a lot of plans and an eye to the future. We hope to come in and grow the paper with the community. Nesbitt also explained that the Tribune office was not included in the sale and that publishing would be centralized at the business's Shoal Lake office. However, this has been noted as a benefit due to how the landscape has been changing for the news industry. It also allows Karen Mitchell, who is staying on and joining Nesbitt Publishing, to continue her great work for the Tribune, Nesbitt added. She does a lot of work from home anyways, so it'll free up her time to be out and about, reporting on stories and events as opposed to sitting in an office answering a phone. Changes to the paper in terms of layout and potential features are being looked at, as well as additional business changes, such as subscriptions, that will come in the future. Minnedosa reveals its new budget. The financial details have been unveiled and finalized for the town of Minnedosa's latest municipal budget. For 2022, the town's expenditures have been estimated at $12,997,106, an increase of just over $1.7 million over 2021's approved budget. As for what these numbers actually mean to the average property owner within the community, it means that there will be a 2.2% increase to their tax levy. To put it into perspective, that means roughly around a $13 increase in taxes paid per $100,000 worth of value on a property. For capital expenditures, $591,000 has been set aside for various projects. Some of the notable spending on these improvements to the community will include 7th Avenue Southwest pavement curb and gut, $275,000. Centennial Drive upgrades, $150,000. And a new lift truck, $40,000. As well, support has been established in the budget for sidewalk replacement, a lake silt study, and arena and curling complex repairs. First reading and approval to the budget was given earlier this month. The second and third reading and passage will likely occur at Council's next meeting, which is set for Tuesday, May 10th. And on the next page, we have a picture. Kaleidoscope concert season comes to a close. The Chris Guidoni Band closed out the Kaleidoscope concert season with a performance at the Neepawa Legion on April 23rd. The Kaleidoscope Committee has 5 concerts lined up for next season, starting in October. Photography group taking hold in Neepawa. A new group is developing roots in Neepawa. The Neepawa Creative Photography Club held its first meeting on April 21st to gauge interest and start planning. The charge was led by Neepawa resident Brad Mummery, who told the Banner and Press the initial meeting garnered an encouraging response. 14 people attended, a couple of which were professionals and some of which were youth, said Mummery. This is fantastic. We're gearing towards photographers of all ages and all types of photography methods, whether it be a phone, drone, or other equipment. While the group is still in its planning stages, they are hoping to have mentorship from experienced photographers to assist those who are less experienced. As well, to have group outings where everyone goes to a location to take photographs, learning and improving together. Anyone who is interested but would like to make inquiries can contact Mummery via phone at 204-725-7811. The group's next meeting is scheduled for May 5th at 7 p.m. And we have a small correction. There was a print error in the Western Manitoba Science Fair article last week. Gabriel Chepka was listed as Liam Cleaver's project partner. However, Cleaver's partner was meant to be listed as Brooklyn Mitchell. The Banner and Press apologizes for this error. And to the right on the same page, we have an advertisement for some upcoming programs on Nactv this week, including Council Debrief, Ukraine Special Features, including the area history of Ukrainian settlement with Pat Gawaziuk, and a conversation with Pastor Volodymyr Makiev of the First Baptist Church, and also the Neepawa Sports Dinner. As well, as always, Bigger Bingo is every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And you can visit our website, nactv.tv, to see the current jackpots. And on page A6, Out of Helen's Kitchen, titled, Do You Suffer from Rheumatism? While cleaning at the museum recently, I read the writing on the box of Dr. Thomas electric oil. I was amazed at all the things it claimed to cure. For people, it could be used for neuralgia, simple sore throat, coughs due to colds, false croup, burns, piles, and frostbites. For horses and cattle, it could be used for colic, galls, sweeney, curb, quirks, scratches, and sore teats. For chickens, it could be used for canker sores and flesh wounds. So I did some more research and reading. Canada in the 1800s, and especially on the newly opened prairies, medicine was a scary combination of chance and deception. With few doctors available, people became their own doctors. Medicinal men, often referred to as snake oil salesmen, advertised in papers, almanacs, and catalogs, and deemed that their secret formula could cure every known ailment. Do you suffer from rheumatism, lumbago, chronic sciatic neurologic pain? Well, I represent the only company that makes a genuine article that cures headaches, neuralgia, earache, toothaches, backaches, swelling, sprains, sore chest and throats, contracted cords and muscles, anxieties and ravaged nerves, stiff joints, cuts and bruises, and it adds vitality and vigor to the healthy man. Many medicine men sold their cures by mail, but many traveled with a horse and brightly painted van from town to town. Their motto was to sell the product quickly and move on to the next town. They set up on the main street, sometimes with casts of performers demonstrating their strength and health obtained from the secret formula elixir. Those secret formulas were very much in fashion. At the time, there were no laws governing the ingredients in those bottles with the outlandish claims. They had only to patent the shape of the bottles. There was no control over their ingredients. Not all concoctions were ineffective, as some were based on proven folk remedies. However, many were ineffective and in many cases dangerous for people to use. Many remedies relied on high concentrations of alcohol to help mask the pain. Some, like Burdock's bitters, were 45% alcohol. Around the mid-1880s, the active ingredient of the coca leaf, known as cocaine, was added to many medicines. Pharmaceutical companies loved this new, fast-acting, and moderately low-cost intoxicant. This addition led to repeat customers for their products. As well, a great many of these secret formulas contained opium, which also made them addictive. Bayer made a heroin-laced aspirin in 1898, which they marketed for children suffering from sore throats, coughs, and cold. The picture on the bottle showed children reaching for the medicine from the spoon moms held out with the heroin medicine. Doan's kidney pills, given to help people with kidney problems, contained saltpeter, which actually worsened the problem with the potential to kill its patient. Then there were the little blue pills prescribed by doctors for ailments like parasitic infestations, constipation, toothaches, and such that contained mercury. Mercury is a metallic element that is poisonous. In 1906, the Canadian government passed the Patent Medicine Act. It did help a little to reduce the extravagant claims of cure and some potentially harmful ingredients. The manufacturing companies switched to selling directly to the pharmacies, eliminating the traveling salesman. As well, the mail-order business was booming, allowing people to buy their favorite health-in-a-bottle cure-alls. I believe we still have some snake oil salesmen out there with cures in a bottle for everything. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I think for many, this soup recipe would have been a better choice of medicine. And there are recipes for hearty ham bone soup and cornmeal muffins. So you can check these out in this week's paper. And now the Spruce Plains RCMP report. During the week of April 18th to April 24th, Spruce Plains RCMP dealt with 53 police activities. On April 18th, RCMP responded to a report of an individual failing to comply with an order in Gladstone. The complainant was reporting for documentation purposes only and did not want to press charges. Police responded to another report of an individual failing to comply with an order in the RM of North Cypress, Langford. After an investigation, it was determined that the report was unfounded. April 19th. RCMP received a report of fraud in Neepawa where an individual gave personal information over the phone to a later determined scammer. There was insufficient evidence to proceed further. Police received a call about cattle being in the ditch along the highway in the RM of Minto-Odana. The owners were informed and the cattle were rounded up and brought back home. April 20th. RCMP were dispatched to a head-on collision in the RM of Rosedale. It was determined that a vehicle collided into a snowplow. Both drivers were uninjured and no charges were laid. Police responded to an abandoned 911 call in Neepawa. It was learned shortly after that it was dialed by a child accidentally in the residence using an iPad emergency call feature. Multiple storage units were broken into at a storage locker facility in Manitoba. The matter is still under investigation. April 21st. RCMP responded to a report of sexual assault in Manitoba. The matter is still under investigation. Police received a report of a hit and run to a vehicle in Manitoba. There was insufficient evidence to proceed further. Police were dispatched to a report of an unwanted person at a residence in Plumas. The complainant followed up shortly after and reported a peaceful resolution was made and there was no need for police involvement. April 22nd. RCMP received a report of theft at a business in Neepawa. After investigation, it was determined there was insufficient evidence to proceed. Police responded to a report of sexual assault in Gladstone. The matter is still being investigated. April 23rd. RCMP were dispatched to a vehicle collision near Basswood where a semi had jackknifed. There were no injuries and poor weather conditions were determined to be the causing factor. Police closed numerous highways in the area and responded to many collisions that were caused by the weather and poor highway conditions. Thankfully, there were no reported injuries sustained in any of the accidents. April 24th. RCMP received a child welfare complaint in Neepawa. After investigation, it was determined not to be a police matter. There were no child safety issues or concerns. Police responded to an abandoned 911 call from a residence in Neepawa. Police attended with EMS and found an individual in medical distress who was transported to the hospital in stable condition. RCMP conducted 3 traffic enforcement actions during this reporting period. If you have any information about these crimes or any other crimes, please contact your local RCMP office or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Neepawa and Manitoba RCMP detachments advised they will be limiting front counter services at the detachments until further notice. We request that you contact each detachment at 204-476-7340 for Neepawa, or the Manitoba detachment at 204-867-2916 to inquire about criminal record checks or to file a report. Leave a message if needed and it will be checked the following business day. Do not leave a message if you require immediate police assistance. You must dial 204-476-7338 in Neepawa, or in Manitoba 204-867-2751, or 911 to have a police officer respond to you promptly. Province issues flood warning from St. Lazar to Griswold. Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure's Hydrologic Forecast Center has issued a flood warning for the Assiniboine River from St. Lazar to Griswold. The Shellmouth Dam is being operated to reduce the risk of flooding downstream on the Assiniboine River, while at the same time providing sufficient storage for water supply. Dam operations are constantly assessed, and outflows may change as melting and runoff in the upper Assiniboine River basin resumes. An overland flood warning is still in effect for southern Manitoba from the Saskatchewan border eastward to Provincial Trunk Highway 12 and from the United States border northwards to Highway 1, extending north of Highway 1 between Highways 5 and 16 and north of Highway 1 between Portage la Prairie and Winnipeg. A high water advisory has also been issued for the Whiteshell Lakes area as levels on most lakes continue to rise due to rainfall and snowmelt. Water levels on most tributaries in the Red River Basin are at peak and staying steady or slowly declining after 2 days of rapid increases. River levels on the Red River continue to increase, but the rate of increase has slowed significantly compared to the water level increases experienced over the week. Daily average temperatures are expected to increase to above zero by midweek. Southern Manitoba basins, including the United States portion of the Red, Souris, Pembina, and Roseau River basins, have received an average of 60 millimeters of precipitation since April 22nd. Manitobans are reminded to stay off waterways, including creeks, streams, rivers, and the Red River floodway. High flows, debris, and cold temperatures present a significant safety risk. Some ditches and waterways are still ice-covered or contain snow-limiting water flows. Flood forecasters will continue to monitor precipitation amounts and assess impacts on flows and levels. The most recent forecast information can be found at gov.mb.ca/mit/floodinfo/index.html. The Manitoba Emergency Measures Organization continues to work with all local authorities and emergency management partners to provide guidance and support for both preparatory and response activities. Manitobans are reminded to stay off closed roads and not attempt to travel around barricades. For current highway conditions and road closures, call 511 or visit manitoba511.ca. Private well owners are reminded to test their wells to determine if they need to take steps to improve water quality and address potentially harmful bacteria. Testing is recommended at least once a year, particularly after the spring runoff or in the event of overland flooding. For further details on well water testing, visit gov.mb.ca/sd/pubs/water/factsheet2_test_wellwater.pdf. And these addresses are in the paper. You can probably figure them out better by reading them yourself. For more information about flooding in Manitoba, visit manitoba.ca/flood. That was a simpler one. And to the right of that, we have a picture of the Neepawa Elks in 1966. The Neepawa Elks, who were the Neepawan District Little League champions of 1966. Pictured from left to right, back row, are Bill Pearson, coach, Reed Osland, Bill Gordon, coach, Don Devison, David Turner, Frank Reed, trophy donor, Tim Summers, and Ken Hawken, coach. Center row, Jim White, Garth White, Alan Hawken, Garth Pearson, and Bob Speece. Front, Barry Hawken, Murray Speece, Randy Kaharski, captain, Blair McLaughlin, and Rick Pearson. And now the looking back section. 110 years ago, Friday, April 26, 1912. Harry Poole, a former resident here who has been in CNR employ at Russell, has been transferred to Neepawa and will resume his former residence near Ward 1 School. The SOEBS passed the hat amongst members the other evening and collected $7.50, which was turned over to the Board of Trade Committee on Relief for Titanic Sufferers. Mrs. E.A. Robinson has purchased from the Davidson estate 3 lots on 3rd Street between S. McCone's and J.D. Mansions, and W.T. Shearer started work yesterday to erect a residence. A man who was walking through a train inadvertently left the door of one of the cars open. A big man sitting in the seat in the middle of the car yelled, "Shut the door, you fool! Were you raised in a barn?" The man who had left the door open closed it, and then, dropping in his seat, buried his face in his hands and commenced to weep. The big man looked somewhat uncomfortable and, rising finally, walked up to the weeper and tapped him on the shoulder. "My friend," he said, "I didn't intend to hurt your feelings. I just wanted you to shut the door." The man who was weeping raised his head and grinned. "Old man," he said, "I am not crying because you asked me if I was raised in a barn. The sad fact is, I was raised in a barn, and every time I hear an ass bray, it makes me homesick." 100 years ago, Tuesday, April 25th, 1922. Neepawa North End National Baseball Club organized on Friday night and elected C. Brooker, President, V. Ward, Vice President, Messrs. John Crawford, W. G. Fraser, Jazz Hawksley, Walter Townsend, W. J. Hamilton, and Conductor Martin honorary patrons. The executive committee composed of R. Rush, B. Tyndall, B. Dale, H. Colasar, and E. Parker, Sam Hurd. Manager A. McConaughey, Captain Roy Rush, Secretary-Treasurer, Andy Mitchell, Chaz Dale, mascot. 90 years ago, Tuesday, April 26, 1932. The returned men of the district intend to celebrate July 1st this year in Neepawa with a decoration service in the morning and sports in the afternoon. Arden. Mr. and Mrs. Maurice Gary of Riding Mountain moved last week to the Bullock Farm east of Arden. 80 years ago, Thursday, April 30th, 1942. Arden. Leonard Burton, RCA of Winnipeg, spent leave with his parents, Mr. and Mrs. J. Burton. Arden. Sergeant A. Rushton of 35 EFTS visited last week at the home of Mr. and Mrs. A. J. Brock. The marriage of Beatrice, elder daughter of Mr. and Mrs. George Thomas, to Mr. William Grant, son of Mr. and Mrs. H. G. Grant of Winnipeg, was solemnized Saturday, April 18th at Holy Trinity Church, Winnipeg. The bride wore a midnight blue redingote ensemble, the dress of Bemberg sheer print in shades of blue and rose. Her hat was a navy French model with shoulder-length veil. She wore a corsage of American Beauty roses. The bride was attended by her sister Mary, who wore a printed crepe dress with hip-length navy jacket. Her hat was an off-the-face navy straw. She wore a corsage of sweetheart roses. Mr. David Ainge attended the bridegroom, and Mr. H. Wilson and Mr. E. Grant were ushers. Mr. and Mrs. Grant will reside in Winnipeg. A silver album known as the General Service Badge is now being issued by the Department of National Defence, Ottawa, to men honorably discharged from active service in the Canadian Army. The badge is a shield bearing 3 red maple leaves, the whole surmounted by a red crown and carrying the silver letters General Service on a blue background. Men honorably discharged as physically unfit will receive the badge on application. Those honorably discharged for other reasons must complete a special application and swear willingness to re-enlist if their services are required. Personnel discharged to re-enlist in other branches of the armed forces will not receive the badge, but rather the badge of that service from which they are finally discharged. 70 years ago, Thursday, May 1st, 1952, Dr. William Alexander Howden, 47, prominent Neepawa physician and surgeon and citizens of the town for many years, died suddenly at his home here early Sunday morning. Dr. Howden was born in Neepawa on January 31st, 1905, a son of the late Mr. and Mrs. J. H. Howden of Neepawa. He attended local schools before going to Winnipeg to attend Manitoba Medical College, graduating in 1931. Since graduation, he had practiced in Neepawa with the exception of 5 years during World War II with the Canadian Army Medical Corps, being stationed at various points in Canada. He received his commission as captain in this service. Photographic surveying to speed up map making was introduced in the Rocky Mountains. The funeral service for Mrs. Jessie C. McTavish, 51, wife of E. Leslie McTavish, who passed away in St. Rose Hospital April 14th, was held in McCrary United Church on April 17th. Mrs. McTavish was born at Norgate, Manitoba on December 9th, 1900. She resided in Neepawa and Newdale before her marriage to E. L. McTavish in 1921. Mr. and Mrs. McTavish have been residents of McCrary since 1931. She is survived by her husband, 2 daughters, Audrey and Margaret, a son, Bruce, 3 sisters, Mrs. P. McClure of Winnipeg, Mrs. F. Wallace of Cardale, Mrs. T. Rainwater of Salem, Oregon, 2 brothers, Mark of Rosthern, Saskatchewan, and Robert of Lethbridge, Alberta. There are 2 grandchildren. And 60 years ago, Tuesday, April 24th, 1962, dynamite was used Friday to clear several large ice jams on the White Mud River near Gladstone, where the spring runoff was causing considerable flooding. And also from 1962, this week's picture, a new bell was placed in the belfry of the St. James Anglican Church in Neepawa in 1962. It was raised into position by the pulley on the end of a long boom from Provost Signs. The bell itself was donated by the CPR. And 50 years ago, Thursday, April 27th, 1972, Neepawa Ford Mercury sales were pleased with the response to their official opening on Saturday afternoon, when about 300 people dropped in to visit them. A brief ceremony was conducted with Gerald McKenzie, a representative from Ford Motor Company, addressed the gathering. He was accompanied by Al Potter. 40 years ago, Thursday, April 29th, 1982. Congratulations on a job well started were brought by several speakers at a banquet April 21st, marking the 10th anniversary of the White Mud Watershed Conservation District. 30 years ago, Tuesday, April 28th, 1992. More than 300 travelers were stranded in Neepawa over the Easter holiday weekend after a spring storm reduced visibility to near zero and dumped more than 30 centimeters of snowfall on roads leading out of town. And finally, 20 years ago, Monday, April 29th, 2002, Neepawa Collegiate's class of 2000 raised $12,519.39 for the Canadian Diabetes Research Foundation and Trans-Canada Trail Foundation. The money was raised by the 81-member graduating class as its Project Millennium. Internet pharmacists are objecting to a proposal by the Manitoba Pharmaceutical Association that would force people living outside the province to get a prescription from a Manitoba doctor before they can buy drugs from a Manitoba pharmacy. The proposal is designed to curb the sale of mail-order drugs to Americans via Manitoba's booming internet pharmacies, including Minnedosa's Mediplan. Email pharmacies are currently allowed to fill prescriptions from American doctors. And on page A9, we have a picture. Legion dinner supports Ukraine. A large and enthusiastic crowd attended the dinner put on by the Legion Ladies Auxiliary on April 22nd. The dinner was in support of Ukraine, with any profit going to the Canada-Ukraine Congress to be used to benefit the Ukrainian people. Pat Gwoziuk said grace and then translated a few words of appreciation from Ukrainian to English. Thanks to the generosity of the attendees, many of whom donated above the cost of the dinner, and those who donated regardless of attendance, the amount raised after expenses was $1,400. The auxiliary said, "Our community can always be counted on to rally around worthwhile causes, and this support was certainly evident Friday evening. A heartfelt thank you to all who participated." 2021, a strong year for Neepawa Gladstone Co-op. The past year proved to be a good one overall for the Neepawa Gladstone Co-op. The business held its annual general meeting on Wednesday, April 13th. The event featured reports from both the general manager and the directors. Sales increased overall, surpassing 2020's total of $86 million to reach $95.5 million. Local savings were tallied at $1.8 million, which along with patronage from FCL gave a net savings of $4.7 million. This is an increase of last year's total of $3.3 million. 2021 also brought an increase in memberships, raising the total from 364 the previous year to 451. As a result, patronage refunds were allocated to the membership in the amount of $2.2 million. Despite inflation being noted as a factor affecting several commodities, the board noted that the co-op still achieved real growth in many areas. As well, support continued for local 4-H groups within its trading area, as well as for other youth groups, sports groups, and community projects. In the formal address given by Brian Headley, he stated that although COVID-19's direct effects were limited on the agricultural portion of the business, indirect effects both up and down the supply chain were very destructive. The same was said of the food, petroleum, and home center divisions. As the world becomes more and more dependent on just-in-time supply chains, there is a greater chance for disruptions and delays along the way, said Headley. Supply chains have existed for decades, but for the first time it became clear that they were vulnerable and could be broken. Adding to the year's trouble were the Western Canadian drought, which brought a decline in field crop production, and other extreme weather events which caused breakdowns in rail transportation. Ocean shipping delays, truck transportation delays, a semiconductor chip shortage, and labor shortages were also experienced. Gladstone's food sales held steady, with margins maintained and expenses coming in below budget. Neepawa food sales were similar and held on to a lot of growth that was picked up the previous year due to COVID-19 and overbuying, in addition to customers purchasing close to home. And this is continued on page A17. The Neepawa food store's margin remained strong, and with a strong exercise in expense control, all departments reported a strong financial improvement. The Neepawa Home Center experienced record sales, although products such as drywall were difficult to secure throughout the year. However, FCL started working on a lumber building materials distribution hub outside Regina, Saskatchewan, which is expected to alleviate the issue. The center's expansion is progressing on time, and the grand opening is expected to take place this fall. Gladstone's farm and building sales remained similar to the previous year, and margins and expenses were in line with budget. Petroleum division sales were significantly higher at both locations. Fuel Good Day raised more than $595,000, which was donated to 195 local charities and non-profit organizations. Car wash sales increased well beyond expectation despite drier weather conditions. Bulk petroleum sales were up, but with tighter margins. In spite of 2021's weather conditions, the Ag Division reported a very good year. Sales were up in both Neepawa and Gladstone, and strong margins were maintained. Custom applications saw a decrease due to the dry conditions. On pages A10 and A11, there is a special Mother's Day section, including a submitted article about how to plan a special Mother's Day as pandemic restrictions are lifted. Mother's Day has felt a little less than normal over the past couple of years. The COVID-19 pandemic led to the cancellation of many Mother's Day gatherings in 2020, and while things felt more familiar in 2021, this year may mark the most normal Mother's Day celebrations since 2019. Pandemic-related restrictions have now been lifted in many towns and cities, though it's best to confirm if any rules and restrictions are still in place before making any plans. Individuals who want to make sure Mom has a special day can consider these planning pointers. Revisit old traditions. There's many ways to let Mom know she's special, but after 2 years of living under the specter of a pandemic, few things might be as meaningful to Mom as a return to pre-pandemic traditions. Book a trip to a destination you visited on Mother's Day in the past. If possible, visit a locale where Mom spent her first Mother's Day as a parent, ideally staying in the same hotel or rental home that hosted you back then. If it was once tradition to spend Mother's Day in a big city, return there and enjoy a day that recalls pre-pandemic life. Book a special trip. Millions of people canceled or postponed travel plans during the pandemic. Now that many places, including foreign countries, have lifted travel restrictions, families can feel safe taking off for parts unknown. Such a trip can be even more special if it's a surprise for Mom on Mother's Day weekend. Make it a family affair. Even Mother's Day celebrations in 2021 were likely smaller affairs than some moms might have preferred. If Mom spent more time wishing more family could be around on Mother's Day over the last 2 years, make a concerted effort to include as many family members as possible this year. Encourage grown children to travel home for the holiday and invite Mom's parents and siblings over to celebrate as well. Get out of the house. A home-cooked meal might have warmed Mom's heart in recent years, but a day out of the house may be especially welcome this Mother's Day. Book a reservation at Mom's favorite local restaurant so no one has any cooking or cleaning to do this year. Just be sure to book a reservation early, as the competition for a table figures to be especially stiff this year. Start the day with a spa visit. Moms might have put pampering on hold during the pandemic. Now that public health agencies have given the go-ahead to lift restrictions, a good pampering is undoubtedly in order. A Mother's Day morning spa trip can start the day off right. Mother's Day celebrations in 2022 should feel more normal than they have in years. Families can capitalize on that by planning a day Mom won't soon forget. And varied spending found within 2022 financial plan. This appears to be the actual continuation of the front page article about the tax increase. And it's on page A11 instead of page A9, which was stated on the front page, but we'll continue this now. Just to recap, the mill rate is going up slightly after being stable over the past couple of years. For the general operating fund, this year it will be an estimated $16,984,973.63. That number is just over $2.7 million more than had been budgeted in 2021. Spending on capital purchases for the year will equal $5,591,754. The primary purchases for the town of Neepawa will include: for fire and emergency capital, $3.4 million toward the completion of the new RCMP building construction, funded through reserves and taxes. $530,000 for a new fire truck from reserves. $16,000 for a ram from taxes. $11,000 for turnout gear, 4 suits from taxes, and $3,000 for communication from taxes. For office capital, $12,000 for computer upgrades and $2,000 for furniture and office building, both from taxes. For the Neepawa pool, $360,000 for a recreation plan from grants and taxes, and $1,000 for building upgrades from taxes. For public works, $805,000 for road construction from reserves and taxes, $305,000 for new equipment, including a truck, snow blower, and loader from taxes, and $60,000 for boulevards and drainage from taxes. The amount being set aside for the utility operating funds will be estimated at $8,797,360.44. That is $2.6 million more than last year's estimated budget. Capital purchases in the utility amount to $6,767,608 and include $4 million for Phase 2 of the Lagoon project, funded by rates and grants, $2.2 million for the completion of the reservoir from grants, reserves, and taxes, $399,000 for sewer relines and installation from rates and reserves, $90,000 for a groundwater study, rates and grants, $78,608.62 for replacements of valves, hydrants, truck, and saw from rates. As part of the general operating fund, $163,384.95 has been set aside for grants, which will be split among 16 local organizations. The largest individual grant distributed this year will be $100,000 for the Yellowhead Center. That amount is unchanged from what the Yellowhead received last year. The funding has been given to assist with a portion of the facility's maintenance and operational costs. As well, it will subsidize the regular scheduled public skating sessions. Unlike most other communities across Western Canada, the town does not actually own or operate the arena. It is kept open through the efforts of a local group of volunteers. Other organizations receiving support this year from the grant program include $15,000 to Arts Forward, amount unchanged from 2021. $15,000 to Neepawa Middle School, a new recipient of grant support. $10,000 to the Neepawa Curling Club, a $5,000 increase over last year. $5,000 to Neepawa Gymnastics, a new recipient. $5,000 to Neepawa Baseball and Softball, unchanged from last year. $2,534.95 to Hand Senior Services, unchanged. $2,500 to Beautiful Plains Doctor Recruitment, unchanged. $2,000 to Nactv, unchanged. And we thank the town for their annual contribution to our station. $1,500 to Citizens on Patrol, $1,000 to Beautiful Plains Ag Society, both unchanged. $1,000 to what I'm assuming is the Margaret Lawrence Home, a new recipient. $1,000 to Neepawa in Bloom, unchanged. $850 to the Lions Club, $500 to the Air Cadets, and $500 to the Beautiful Plains Horticultural Society, all new recipients. The first reading of the 2022 budget was given and approved on Tuesday, April 19th. Second and third reading will likely occur at the next council meeting on Tuesday, May 3rd. And now for the Carberry North Cypress Langford page on A13. Here and There by Gladwin Scott. Jostin North, age 16, which is pictured in this photo, won the gold medal in the cadet 17 and under category at the 3D National Archery Championship in Lac La Biche, Alberta, April 16th and 17th. His flight to Charlottetown for the Pan Am Games trials was cancelled due to inclement weather, but the Team Manitoba archery squad made the long trip to Lac La Biche for the Nationals. Jostin has been training for 4 years with Joel Brugger, who also provided Firewire custom bow and strings. Gavin Renwick, age 16, Neepawa Titans goaltender, was the recipient of the Suregrove Farm Supplies Award as the fan's choice. Gavin is a product of the Carberry Minor Hockey Program. And you can see the presentation of that award here on NACTV on the Neepawa Titans Sports Dinner program, which will be airing this upcoming Monday. The Carberry community, school staff, and students extend sincere sympathy to their music and band teacher, Justine Burke, on the passing of her husband, Dr. Morgan Burke, age 30, on April 11th due to brain cancer. His celebration of life will be held in the Carberry Community Hall Saturday, April 30th at 1 p.m. He was diagnosed with cancer in June 2021 and received his doctorate in Earth System Sciences for the University of North Dakota in November 2021. Carberry's 7th annual potato truck pull will be held Sunday, July 3rd at 2:45 p.m. as part of the Carberry Fair. Teams of 10 are required to pull a 24,000-pound potato truck 80 feet in the quickest time. Teams must be registered by May 20th with organizer Amy Smart at 204-834-2440 or amy.smart@smartelectric.ca. 3 Wheat Kings and their mascot Willie will be in attendance this year. Previous events have earned $659,000 for Pediatric and Cancer Care Manitoba. 24 teams participated in the last event with several outside teams and an all-female squad. Carberry United Church has been busy lately with communion being celebrated on Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday, featuring 15 new individuals joining the local church under the direction of Reverend Emma Simone. Adults joining by affirmation of faith were Phyllis Downey, Elaine Downey, and Bob Sholey. Transfers were Peggy Knox, Art Maynard, and Deb Salin. Confirmation of youth included Xander Campbell, Hannah Palasic, Jack Palasic, Andy Nicolason, Lachlan Kapitko, Sarah Kapitko, and Matthew Salin. Board Chair Carla Voth presented each with congratulations and a Bible. Regional sports leagues hold spring meetings. After not operating last season, all 6 teams are excited to return for the 2022 Santa Clara Baseball League starting around Victoria Day, depending on the weather. The Austin A's, Carberry Royals, Ebb and Flow Lakers, Portage Padres, Plumas Pirates, and our Neepawa Cubs will each play a home-and-home schedule. Warren Birch of Carberry and Tom Yando of Plumas will again provide leadership. Neepawa hosted the spring meeting Thursday, April 21st. And so, as always, we will have footage of those games airing on Nactv this summer. So look for that coming up in the guides in future months. And the 15-team Tiger Hills Hockey League held its spring meeting in Wawanesa Monday, April 11th. In a 14-1 secret vote, the league introduced an import rule. 2 types of imports were categorized. Players with semi-pro or WHL experience were classified as A, and those with MJHL experience were classed as B. Teams can sign up to 6 imports, which could include 2 level A players. Goaltenders are exempt. Also included was a grandfather clause for players who have been with the team for 6 or more years. Players who live within 30 kilometers of their home rink will not be considered imports. Some new teams inquired about entering next season. Officers elected for the 2022-23 season were Rodney White, President, Andrew Arksey, Vice President, David Kirkup, Member-at-Large, and Kurt Graham, Referee-in-Chief. And we at Nactv would like to bring you Tiger Hills Hockey League games as well, which I believe includes our Neepawa farmers. But as of now, we don't have the volunteers to do so. So if you would be interested in volunteering to tape farmers games next season, please get in touch with us so that maybe we could bring those to our viewing audience as well. And the Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame 2022 Banquet. The Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year and plans to hold the induction banquet in Morden on Saturday, June 4th for the class of 2020. For the last 2 years, banquets were not held due to the pandemic. The Winnipeg Goldeyes will host all the 2020 inductees at Shaw Park for a baseball game on Sunday, June 5th at 1 p.m. against the Lincoln Salt Dogs, which I assume are from Lincoln, Nebraska. The Goldeyes will wear Cardale Cougar replica uniforms, which will be for sale following the game. All 2020 inductees will be introduced on the field prior to the game. Special 25th anniversary pins and t-shirts will be available. Members of the 2020 inductees include 7 individuals: Ron Arnst of Winnipeg, Les Charles of Didsbury, Alberta, Blaine Fortin of Lundar, Andrew Halpenny of Winnipeg, John Croker of Stonewall, Morris Mott of Brandon, and Callum Paul of LaSalle. 4 teams will be inducted, including the Carmen Gold Eyes Midgets, 1994-95, Carmen Gold Eyes Juniors of 1997 to 2000, Elmwood Giants Juniors of 2002 to 2007, the Cardale Cougars, Bantams, Midgets, and Bisons of 1971 to 75, and a special team, the Portage Athletics Midgets of 1991, and an honorary life member, Jack Callum. Ticket information is available on the Baseball Hall of Fame website. Tickets for former individual inductees are available at a reduced rate. Neepawa will host the second Hall of Fame golf tournament on Friday, August 26th. Director Kevin Booker has invited Hall of Fame members to Morden Saturday, August 6th for a special day with Team Manitoba provincial boys and girls players at a training camp session. And just something of interest in the classifieds, there will be 2 public hearings. See, both on May 17th, 2022 at the Town of Neepawa office on Hamilton Street at 7:30 and 7:40 p.m. And both are to rezone parcels of land near the edge of town as residential multi-unit 2 zones. So there is a possibility of multi-family housing going up on Gill Drive and Dominion Road. And on page A19, local sets eyes on Dream Chopper for charity. Jack Sellers of Minnesota is aiming to win his Dream Chopper. However, if he secures the prize, he told the Banner and Press that he's not going to keep it. Sellers entered the Dream Chopper contest put on by Orange County Choppers with Plumas Prairie Initiatives, Inc. in mind. If I win this contest, the bike will be raffled off to raise money for the Plumas Elementary play structure, Sellers explained. The Parent Teachers Council is working hard at raising funds for it. He added, to win the contest, it's a contestant with the most votes. Right now, I'm in second place. Voting is free and can be done once per day until the contest ends on May 26. However, people can also submit paid votes to support the Hudson Valley SPCA, a no-kill animal shelter that Dream Chopper is supporting for this contest. Money from those votes will be used to help provide care services for animals at the Hudson Valley SPCA while their forever homes are sought out. Anyone wishing to make a direct donation to the Plumas play structure are asked to contact Patty Thompson via email at pattylj0414@msn.com. Hog manure, fertilizer close to home. Over the last 2 years, the ability to ship and receive essential goods across stretched supply chains has been compromised. More recently, there was sudden concern for prairie crop farmers as to if and when they would receive fertilizer needed for the spring planting season. Imported and non-renewable fertilizers must be shipped in by rail or truck, which in today's marketplace adds to already high production costs. Hog manure is a valuable organic fertilizer that has been used by farmers over 10,000 years to help build and maintain soil health. Using manure as fertilizer helps recycle key nutrients, creating healthier soils and better crops. The use of manure is highly regulated. Hog farmers work with professional agrologists who assist them in making informed decisions regarding their environmental impacts. With the price of synthetic fertilizers forecasted to skyrocket due to the war in Ukraine, using locally available natural fertilizers like hog manure makes good economic and environmental sense. To learn more, visit manitobapork.com/environment. And on the Back page, we have a full-page ad from High Life congratulating Landon Cameron on winning the 2022 Sportsperson of the Year award, which you can see on News and Views, and will also be part of our sports dinner program airing this Monday on Nactv. And as always, there are the editorials and letters to the editor. And we don't have time for those this week. We just have a couple of minutes left, so I want to take a look at the B section, the Farmer's Advocate. And on the front page, we have a big full-color picture of some calves, accompanying an article entitled 7 Tips for a Successful Calving Season. There are some key actions you can take to help achieve a successful calving season, whether you are in the middle of calving season or planning for the next. The Beef Cattle Research Council has several helpful calving resources and tips. And I'll just list out the titles of these tips. Do not hang calves upside down if they need help breathing. Intervene if the calf hasn't received colostrum 2 to 4 hours after birth. Feed a minimum of 2 liters when tube feeding colostrum. Have 2 tube feeders, one for sick calves and the other for healthy calves. Look for signs of dehydration so you can intervene early. Provide clean, dry bedding at calving to reduce disease transmission. Keep track of details like calving ease, calf loss, and cow temperament at calving to help make better management decisions. And there is also an article entitled How to Involve More Young People in Agriculture. And to the right of that, Westoba Credit Union named saddle sponsor for 2022 season. And in this photo, Westoba Credit Union branch manager Heather Heinrichs presents a check for $2,200 to some of the participants of the Manitoba High School Rodeo Association. And on pages B4 and B5, we have some pictures on B4, Royal Manitoba Winter Fair Junior All-Breed Heifer Show and Royal Lady Jackpot. Over 47 head of cattle were entered into the show at the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair. Youth from all over Manitoba and Saskatchewan participated. Pictured Kendra Hinsberg of Rapid City, Champion Angus Heifer, and honorable mention in the Royal Lady All-Breeds Jackpot Show. And on the right page, a busy day for 4-H at the RMWF. More of the eager 4-H youth who participated in the show at the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair earlier this month. On the top left, Kate Hinsberg of Rapid City, Royal Lady All-Breeds Jackpot Champion with homegrown heifer KCH Black Lass 2110J. Top right, Madison Robertson of Neepawa, Reserve Champion Charolais Heifer, and Reserve Champion Intermediate Showperson. Below left, Riley Patterson secured Reserve Shorthorn Heifer. Right, Emily Spears, who secured Champion Commercial Heifer. And at the bottom, Bryn Stepler's entry was awarded the title of Reserve Royal Lady Jackpot Heifer. Those unable to be pictured here were Ivy Perkin, who earned the title Reserve Simmental Heifer, and Grace Glover, who won Reserve Angus Heifer. And there's still a lot more that I didn't get to, but that'll be it for this week. Please pick up a paper if you can. And we'll see you next week.